Awesome. Yeah, Marcus here was talking about illusions. Keeping people in this red versus blue two-party illusion, so that to distract us from all the creepy shit that's happening behind the scenes. So I want to start this next segment out by talking about the metaverse, which some people have probably heard of already. But if you haven't, let me share this real quick, uh, just to see like how they're trying to start this out, making it look all cute, right? No one makes jumping. Oh, where'd it go? I wanted to show that one clip with that guy who's famous on TikTok. The shrugging guy. But anyway, there's all these advertisements now on the metaverse, right? All these people, like you go on Twitter, you type up metaverse, they're promoting this. Here's the New York Times promoting this. What are you missing out on the metaverse? Acting like if you're not a part of it, you're missing out. Pitches for the future of the internet are banking on an old trick, FOMO. So there's a video that Mark Zuckerberg did when he was on mainstream news, and Ryan Christian and Whitney Webb covered this on Unlimited Hangout over at Rockfin. And Mark Zuckerberg is talking to somebody in the mainstream news. I can't remember if it was on CBS. It's all the same to me, like CNN, MSNBC, all these guys, Good Morning America. But he's talking to them, and then it's like, yeah, people, rather than meeting through Zoom, we can meet through here. It's more fun. It's like, or why don't you just meet through Zoom? Like, why don't we just keep doing that? Like, I understand like the convenience with that, but I don't understand the convenience with this metaverse here until you think about who's behind this. Why do they want to push this out so much? I want to refer people to this article if they haven't checked this out yet. This is an excerpt that was written by Seb Solomon and Ali Alexandra. The metaverse, digital twins, and global surveillance. Before I proceed a little even further into this, let me remind people about the origins of Facebook, which I've discussed on this show with Stevie, aka Red Economics, and James Young. Facebook's growing role in the ever-expanding surveillance of pre-crime apparatus of the national security state demands new scrutiny of the company's origins and its products as they relate to a former controversial DARPA-run surveillance program that was essentially analogous to what is currently the world's largest social network. An article written on Unlimited Hangout by Whitney Webb. But this is an introduction, guys. This is just an introduction. There's even more about this, but this is good to start familiarizing yourself with this. And as what Sabs and Ali write, given the recent news about Facebook's name change, we figured it would help to provide further information on much of what we're seeing play out in real time. The post was also about the future of healthcare, right? Because they also talked about how this HR 1976 Medicare for All Act is a Trojan horse for stakeholder capitalism and a value-based healthcare system. They go into depth here and the history of research and the development of nanotechnology. Anyway, with all of this recent talk about the metaverse, we figured a repost was necessary because the focus seems to be on Facebook, even though that is only one aspect of the metaverse. It extends beyond just one company being touted out in the mainstream media. So, I mean, all this artificial intelligence, machine learning, what are they trying to do here? This digital twins, like having a digital version of yourself in an environment that replicates the physical environment. And again, looking at the surveillance history, the history of Facebook and their surveillance origins, like what are they trying to do with us in this digital environment that replicates physical environments? Like it sounds like, and then they pointed this out in the article, it sounds like they're trying to predict crime. And that's also, it's interesting to me how all this is coming out
It's it's
right
a
around the same time as this. Like the whistleblower, Francis Hagen, right? Talking about how we need more censorship online. So they're preparing for how there's going to be people online who could be calling this stuff out and saying we don't want this stuff, or calling out other things that will that is against the military industrial complex's agenda or the intelligence agency's agenda. So, Marcus and Chris here, what are your thoughts on this?
Go ahead, Chris. You go first.
No, I was going to say, it seems as if they want to keep your personality, but they just want to take away your will. So it seems as if they're going to transfer your consciousness into a goddamn machine, and then they'll get rid of you. You just won't have control. I mean, I say that joking around, but I mean, they really, if you look at the plans, the talks, the random comments, the interviews, the articles, the principal players of this really do want to meld man with machine. And these are steps taken in that direction. You can't do that though without implanting some kind of hardware into the body and some software updates thereafter, right? So I mean, all of this tying together. I see a bunch of people mentioning transhumanism in the chat. This is exactly what it is. This is where we're going. Obviously, the principles, again, they feel like they're gods because they have everything, right? There's nothing more that they can, like, they have all the money, right? They travel, they've done all the shit that we would want to do, right? Their next best thing for them to do is to play God. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, I wrote down a couple of notes so I wouldn't forget these. It's the Amazon got a chunk of the digital twinning down already. Yeah, what I wanted to add is I do agree that it does have a lot to do with with the with data collection, but
Artificial intelligence.
there's a more the little nefarious angle which I also see. We already know that a lot of billionaires have been buying up a lot more of the land and things like that. And I feel like when I talked about predictive programming, I was alluding to that for a reason. Think of movies like, for instance, Minority Report, like you brought up. That data collection helps with trying to figure out what you might be doing. They're already using it with trying to figure out your purchasing and what you might buy and things like that. But it's trying to allude. It's like I feel like what Chris is talking about is a little bit further down the road, but I feel like in the short term, they're trying to get us ready.
I was being like sarcastic though, like I am not really transferring your conscience.
I don't see it as that sarcastic though. I mean, I just feel like you have to think as sarcastic and extreme as possible because that's how they think. We can't think
not happening.
Like how we think.
Yeah, I was just want to make it clear that's not happening in like 2021, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say we're looking more at a world like Ready Player One, where you actually you don't have very much going on in your regular life or real life, and so you live your ambitions and hopes and dreams through a 3D virtual reality world. There you can be rich. There, if you're not attractive, you can be as beautiful if you want. There, if you want to be trans and you don't have the money for operations and all that, you can do your perfect trans body. If you want to be whatever, a Furby or whatever. And I bring that up because years back, believe it or not, I hate to bring it up this way, but in the porn industry, this is something that they've been working on for maybe 15 years already, where people go in and dress up in all kind of different, have different avatars, and they've been meeting online. This is something that's already going on. And then there's also like 7 other companies that have been working on metaverse type realities. So they are really trying to push for this. I mean, we look at the video game industry, Unreal, Grand Theft Auto, Sims, Fortnite. All of these things are all simulations like that, and so all they need is the technology for the virtual reality type software to be able to put you into that game mode. There's so many other movies, Assassin's Creed, like remember the movie where they literally dropped him into the 1500s. I mean, and so they're trying to do a lot of this stuff with this technology, and eventually it's a mixture of the transhumanism. It's a mixture of Minority Report trying to control your psyche, trying to know what you're doing. Also, at the same time
Brainwashing.
being able to blind you from what the hell that they might have going on actually in the real world too.
Yeah. To keep
Well,
people comfortable, right? It's like, oh, like you want to be a superhero, you can be a superhero in this virtual reality. You want to be like an anime One Piece pirate, you can do that here. You want to be a Pokemon trainer, you can do this in this virtual reality here, this world that we created that is built on, this based off this physical reality that we live in, right? Like you're
Mhm.
still
Meanwhile,
walking.
you'll be like 418 pounds sitting on the couch defecating on yourself, not even realizing it.
Yeah, you're
If
you're
you
living
stuck with
poor
that damn
horribly.
headset
Wally,
on,
well, I
doing
mean,
like your best Stevie
yeah,
Wonder rendition. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah. So
you
like,
really see people like that.
I'd point to Wally too.
Yeah.
I not only because my original nickname from like middle school was Polly Wally. Long story behind that, but yeah, Wally is like definitely like kind of like a predictive programming thing, but like, and I'd like to tie that actually into fucking like infrastructure bill, because notice how I said you're getting priced out of driving, you're getting priced out of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
being away from fucking like
Fees for
being away
tolls and
from
all
big
that.
cities, right? You're getting priced out of even being able to go out and do off-road shit and go hiking and shit, right? Because all that's going to have a fucking premium attached. But also in that, like back when I was still using heavily, I was all paranoid and I thought that fucking people were watching me through my internet. And so I opened up the like IP tracker or whatever the fuck that's on my internet service provider, and I was seeing background data, right? That was being used through my phone, right? So like Facebook, I didn't even have Facebook on my phone, but Facebook was a background. But Facebook kept on constantly utilizing my internet. But something else I saw, and I'll never forget it. I'm like, what the fuck is Sandbox? What the fuck is this Sandbox thing? Because Sandbox kept fucking utilizing my fucking internet, and I couldn't figure out what the fuck it is. Fast forward to now, and when I started doing cryptocurrency investments and shit like that, I saw a project called Sandbox. Sandbox, ever since the news about the metaverse fucking broke, has been on a fucking tear. It's been going through the fucking roof, right? And so, like, this whole metaverse rollout, if it's being rolled out to the public now, it's already fucking here. It's already been here. They've already tested it in pilot. And like Cardano's doing a lot of this shit in Africa, right? Like fucking cocksucker fucking Hoskinson was over in Ethiopia the other night doing a fucking live stream. Charles Hoskinson is the founder of Cardano. He's also like a fucking legit Satan person. But they've already been rolling this shit out in Africa, right? And if you ever want to fucking know what's coming to the fucking US, look to Africa and look to South America. Look to Southeast Asia. Look to these really fucking poor place. India, South Asia, Southeast Asia, right? Yeah. You need to be looking to like the extremely poor parts of the fucking world that don't have like a fucking a first world populace.
First world.
Yeah. Look out of the first world. And so this shit has already been piloted through places, through companies like Cardano, right? Like ADA. And it's all being rolled out with blockchain, right? Because blockchain, one of its things is it's immutable. You can't fucking delete it, right? And so with this whole like permanent fucking this permanent data collection and a permanent ledger of your data, they know exactly where you've been, what sites you visited, who you've been talking to, shit all like that. It's all on these blockchains, right? And this whole data universe that they're building, it's absolute control, right? Because they noticed that with the rollout of like radio, right? Radio programs back in like the fucking 20s and 30s, when they started to really roll out the radio programs, people got a lot more docile, right? People before that, like if you were working fucking 12, 16 hours a fucking day in a factory, you were out in the fucking streets with a picket and probably some type of a weapon, right? Like you weren't fucking having that shit no more. But what they found with radio programs is that people got more docile. Then the fucking
Huh.
television happened. And the television kept people docile for a very fucking long time. And then what happened even worse is the internet came around. And right, like, and all these things are just tools. Right. And then the fucking rollout of cell phone technology, laptops and tablets and fucking all that shit, right? And video game systems, right? Of course, all the way from like fucking all the way from your
Atari.
yeah, Atari, from your Atari all the way now to like the PS5 and shit, right?
Mhm.
So like they realize that the more fucking entertainment that you have to distract yourself from everything that's going around you, the more hyper materialist they can make it, the more docile you are, right? Because I still draw a lot of my like moral core and my spiritual core from a Southern Baptist preacher who said that the evils of militarism, racism, and extreme materialism are all tied together. Everyone always misses that they're all tied together. They reference the three evils speech, but they never say that they're all tied together. They cannot be defeated one by one. They have to be defeated as a group, right? And so this extreme materialism that we've moved into in the 21st century, this was the warning that we got from the spiritual leaders of the 60s, right? People like Timothy Leary, even though he was fucking kind of a he was kind of a CIA kind of guy. Timothy Leary, fucking Terrence McKenna, Alan Watts, right? Like the ability to unplug is being removed from you forever, right? And the more that they fucking flash these things in front of your eyes, the more they fucking do like some serious engineering of the social construct in general, right? The social contracts can be engineered. Everything can be engineered, right? So like with the whole fucking move into the metaverse, this is nothing new, right? Like Sandbox is fucking a part of Facebook. I saw that data years ago and I didn't know what it was. Now I know what Sandbox is, right? And like I highly recommend reading fucking Seb's article on blockchain in fucking Africa, and especially with Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Cardano, and how that's all connected to fucking certain investors that have to do with Epstein, right? Like these are the fucking evils of the fucking planet, and people are just consuming it because it makes them feel good, right? And so like it's also kind of came in as like an addiction aspect, and people have lost all fucking sense of self. Like they have this twisted version of self, right? This like small, lowest form of self, right? And they've lost the fucking concept of the higher self, right? And so like this is what they want us to move into. Like it's already being rolled out. It's been piloted. It's here. They're just publicizing it.
We have to give the ruling class credit because they don't lie often. If you really think about it, they tell you what the fuck is up. They tell you what they're doing. We choose not to listen to it. Or when somebody tells you, hey, they're working on this, and someone tells you like, I don't know where you heard that from. Like, no, they gave a speech and they actually said this, right? He said I could deal with healthcare and population with vaccines. I mean, how would you ever tie those two together? Same thing goes for speaking of like the technology in Africa. You know, he mentioned Ethiopia, Eritrea. Let's move to the west coast of Africa. How is Gavi and MasterCard, how they partnered together to bring healthcare to Africans? It makes no sense. So know there's something else behind that clearly. And
Mozambique as well, and Zanzibar, like what's his face, Hoskinson, that cocksucker. He just did himself a fucking African tour to try and fucking bring Cardano to fucking Africa. So because those African savages can't fucking seem to develop their countries, what they really need is a bank. And a decentralized bank brought to you by Cardano. They need water,
they need food, but let's give them a bank.
Let's give them a fucking
some more
bank.
Blockchain technology and all this crap.
And let's make sure that they're all in this virtual classroom with this virtual teacher, that we get to fucking engineer these fucking African people into what we want them to be, because they still belong to us. Even if there's fucking laws on the books, these fucking people in fucking North America and in Europe still fucking think that fucking Africans belong to them. Yep. And they're rolling it out, and people are eating that shit up.
Let's not forget, a lot of people, they don't connect this part, but nobody asked, what was Gaddafi working on before he died? What was he
He was trying to
working on?
unionize Africa even more and to have
He
their
was trying
own
to make it
currency
his own
independent from the
African
U.S.
currency. And what you notice is the nations which do not are not tied into our world banking system, those are always the enemies of the Western nations. And you go into like I did a video not too long ago about why Africa has to stay poor. And one professor goes in explaining it perfectly well why they do that. And one other thing I would say is America and Europe is no different than the old Roman Empire. One quote which they said, which all of us should know: give them bread and circus. This is the same thing they're doing now. Give them bread and circus and they'll be distracted. And we can keep moving and warring and doing whatever the hell we want to. And we can control them.
Yeah, actually, I bring that one up all the time. It's a quote from Julius Caesar. If you give them enough bread and circuses, they will give you the keys to the kingdom.
Mhm.
And we've fallen right into that fucking trap.